We're good. Okay, I pressed go live.
Okay.
Okay, so do I need to mute anything? I'm going to hang up. Can I
Well, we're
hang you
gonna
up
hang up
on
the
this phone?
Let's hang up the phone.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're good.
Let me do a double check on the FYLPRO page
Okay.
to make sure we're live. It says we're live. I mean, do you see it?
Let me double check.
And it's 1 o'clock, so we're right on time.
What is up, everyone? We're here after so much struggle.
And we'll give the backstory. We'll give the backstory to everyone. So it's 1 o'clock and it's FYLPRO Fridays, and I'm Annalisa Burgos, and we are launching this new initiative to increase awareness about our amazing alumni and our amazing organization. And so I just wanted to thank you, my first guest, my so-called guinea pig inaugural guest, Joanne Boston, joining us from the Bay Area. Woo woo! Hey, Joe.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for bearing with us, because in case you didn't know, if you're joining us now on our live, we had, technical kind of challenges trying to get this on. So I'm so lucky that actually Joe is an expert at tech events and event production. So, and that's just serendipitous, right? Because I just did a call out to alumni asking for people to come join me on this Chismisan talk story, chat show that we're trying to do. And Joe was like the first person who responded and said, "Hey, I can do it." I was like, awesome. And you just happen to be a production event person. So this is so perfect.
I've just been super excited. Oh, there's a little bit of an echo. This is the event producer in me. I hear an echo. Is everything good?
Is it on your side?
Okay,
I don't hear an echo on my side, so it must be just on your end. I don't know what it is.
Okay, maybe.
She's gonna troubleshoot.
Right, cool. But when you messaged me, I was just super excited because one, FYLPRO is so life-changing. And I still keep in touch with some of the folks from my batch, and every time we see each other, we always reminisce about, do you remember what happened in Manila back in 2016? So when I got the email from you, I was like, I had to jump on it. I felt like I wanted to get more connected with FYLPRO, especially this year. I've been missing a couple years because of pandemic and all that, but I'm just ready to roll. And yesterday I met Lizelle, our president, for the first time, and she is so lovely.
She's on a roadshow.
And she is so, yeah, she started the roadshow here in San Francisco, and I met I saw JR, who I've known for a long time. He was a previous president, and then I saw Kevin Zagalo from the last batch. So it was just amazing to see alumni and seeing everybody get together again. So yeah, a long story short, that's yes, great. Annalisa, thank you for bringing me on.
Well, and I appreciate it because, this was really one of my goals in joining the organization. So I'm not an alum, actually, for everyone who might be watching this now or later. But I believe so strongly in this mission. I aged out, unfortunately, when I found out about it. But yeah, no, it's such a great opportunity for people, and meeting all of you delegates from different class years and different organizations. It was just great, and I thought this is our time to raise awareness about what you guys are working on, what amazing things you're looking forward to, and then how we can help as a community, right? Because this is really a network that we should tap into more often. So Joe, just give everyone a quick background who may not know you, like what year were you, what did you do, and what are you doing now? Fill us in.
Yeah, so let's see, where do I start? So I'm a San Francisco Bay Area native. I've been here. I was born in the city, San Francisco. I live now in Daly City, California, which has a really high population of Filipinos. So growing up, I feel like it's a blessing that I was able to be in community and work with people who look like me. And I felt that that was truly an advantage, especially in my career. I joined FYLPRO back in 2016. I was part of batch 5. And we were, gosh, it was such a tumultuous time, 2016, with the elections in both countries, and it was just a really pivotal moment, I think, in Filipino and Filipino American history. And but I was paired with the most amazing people. Dondi, who was the governor's assistant back in Guam, Jet Tolentino, he's amazing, and so many other folks that I've gotten close to over the years. And my goal was to go back to the Philippines, just get in touch with my roots, and just make sure that what can I do as a Filipino American? What can I do to support any initiatives or just make connections? What can I do here in the Philippines? So when I went there, my legacy project was initially for a nonprofit that I was part of back in the day. It's still part of my mission today, which is progressing the Filipino American cuisine and sharing heritage through food, especially through Filipino food. So I am still in that. I
Great
still am
topic.
yeah, I love food. It's a window to our history and our heritage. And from my learnings from FYLPRO, I was able to cut a lot of doors open for me ever since FYLPRO. I was able to work with the Consul General here in San Francisco, help them with their initiatives. I was able to help with Kalayan as their food and beverage chair. Let's see, what else am I doing? I actually pivoted from a medical career, which I was in before, into full-time events coordinating. And I was a Filipino in tech for almost 3 years. And what am I doing now? Well, I'm actually learning to work for myself. I'm employed by a really amazing group full-time called Kumu. They're based in Manila, but we're expanding here in the United States. So I'm with them part-time, but I'm not working as much before, so I'm using this time to really learn how to work for myself, build relationships, work on amazing events. And actually one of my position that I'm really proud of is that I'm the Arts and Culture Commissioner for the City of Daly City. So I was appointed back in 2019, just bringing beauty, art, cuisine into our community. So this year I'm chair, and so I'm just like really looking forward to meeting other people who have the same vision and making them come to life as like an events producer. Like, tell me your goal. What's our timeline? Do we have a budget? Okay, let's go. Let's make it happen. So that's where I'm at right now. So, but I have to say that
Oh my
FYLPRO
gosh, there's a
definitely,
lot.
yeah, FYLPRO definitely gave me an insight on what we are capable of doing. And it really boosted my, I guess, my confidence as a Filipino American. So I am indebted to FYLPRO, and I love FYLPRO, and I love the alumni, and I can't wait to get back to work with FYLPRO.
Well, I was just gonna say there was so much there to unpack, right?
So
So let's
much.
go through, I guess, the food. Well, I'm glad you did it well. You did a good overview in a short time, and I appreciate that as a TV journalist. It's like, yes, you were concise and you were to the point. I love it. Now we can go back and like deep dive into well, food. Obviously, I know you had that. You were part
Mhm.
of this anthology and that's amazing. Do you have a copy of the book to show people? Let's see. Tell us
I
about.
do, I
I
do, I
think
do.
yeah. The thing about food, Filipino food. Okay, so I used to work for Scripps Networks also, and which owns Food Network. Well, now it's Discovery,
Mm.
but this was back when I was there. And food. I remember Andrew Zimmern for a long time had said that Filipino food was the next big thing. But this was like 10, 12 years ago, right? And just
It was.
recently, I'm seeing that it finally has, broken into mainstream. What do you think? What's your
Mhm.
thoughts? Sorry, did you show the book? I missed it. I was
Oh yeah, yeah. So this is the book I'm part of.
There it
This is the
is.
new
Okay.
Filipino Kitchen. And it is an anthology of about 30 folks in here. I'm one of them. I was invited by Ate Jackie Chiolori. She's actually based in, at the time she was based in Europe. And the
Mhm.
photographer, Rowena, Ate Rowena, she's based in Italy. But just being able to be in a book where I'm able to tell my stories. They basically ask for, give us a story and in a dish that you are that you love, that you have a connection with. And I don't know if you know, this dish is called balatong, or it's called munggo. And it's a dish that
Oh, I
is
know
not
Mongol.
particular. Yeah. So bungo is not a particularly, I forgot page what I was, 130. Okay. It's not a particular glamorous dish. It's not the prettiest dish, but I have to say that it is a dish that has been cooked in my family ever since I was born. And it's a dish that, it really tells about, this, they call this like the dish of like the peasant, right? Where like it's just mung
Ah.
beans. It's just stewed mung beans, right? But
Is it like
my story,
ratatouille?
it's like a lentil stew. So
No, no, I know what it
it's like
is,
a
but what I meant
very,
is, I was just saying, I know what it is, but I'm wondering, you mentioned it's like a dish of the peasant. So I'm wondering, is it like what
oh
ratatouille
yeah,
is for France, or is it, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's people called it struggle food, like a little packet of beans this big could feed a family of six, right? So you add that with your
Wow.
rice, and then it gives you, enough starch to get your day going. But um I chose balaton because it's just so comforting, and it's just so it just reminds me of my grandpa, who I would wait for after school. And in the same notion, I actually waited for this dish to be cooked by my grandma. And so just the themes of waiting and being patient, and making connections with your roots is definitely important to me. So that's my contribution to this book. So it's available on Amazon. I saw it at like, I think it's in Archipelago Books in the city if you're in San Francisco. So you might want to check out the smaller
Mhm.
bookstores. But yeah, I'm super proud of this. This came out just a couple years ago in 2018, and it's it made me connect with all the other chefs, and I'm just so proud of it. So shout out to Ate Jackie
Yeah,
for allowing me to be part of this book.
yeah, and it's amazing. I love how it really showcases other dishes than, the typical adobo, pancit, that's
Yeah,
really where we need to elevate the language about our cuisine, that it's not
yeah,
just that, but so much more, right? So, and then going on to
indeed.
your entrepreneurial side, I mean, like so many people, you are really being your own boss, right? You're taking control of your life, especially with COVID. A lot of people realize they don't want to work for other people. So, what are some of the
Yeah.
challenges that you're facing right now? Tell us about that.
I think because this is my first time venturing out, like someone asked me, "Oh, what's your rate?" Because I'm like, okay, this is my first real like time consulting, right? Like I'm I felt like I did a lot of work before, and a lot of it was because it's community, it's pro bono. But someone said, "Hey, Joe, you could actually get paid by doing this. You could make a career out of this." So, I left my previous job. I wanted a reset. I wanted to say like, okay, 2020 was like the year of letting go and seeing like what I can do with the time I got. It really made life feel really fragile. I don't know about you, but 2020 was like, holy
Amen,
crap,
sister.
like, right? Like, it's like, what can I do now? I like with the time I got, I'm so lucky to be alive, knowing how tumultuous that time was. 2021 was like a year of rediscovery. Like, what do I value about myself now? What is my worth?
Hmm.
What are my talents, and what can I contribute to the world and society? 2022 is more like, how can I help the community with what I learned last year, with what I learned in 2020, and just getting reconnected. I met so many amazing people during the pandemic. I used to, be out all the time, and I felt like I lost a part of myself because I wasn't out. Like, I fed off the energy at my events, and when you're in a virtual setting like this, you feel, you still feel connected but disconnected. And so I made it a point, okay,
Mm-hmm.
2022, I'm really going to think back on what we said we would do back in 2020. Like, oh my God, when we're back in person, let's do this event. When we're back in person, let's meet up. When we're back in person, let's do something. And so I'm making phone
Mm-hmm.
calls and I'm saying, hey, remember what we said back in October of 2020? Are you down? And a lot of folks said yeah. And a lot of the partners at my previous job, they said, hey Joe, can you consult our company on how to create a virtual event? Basically what I did at my last company, but we'll pay you, we'll make you
Mm-hmm.
a consultant and we'll pay you your rate. And I'm like, holy crap, like, what is life right now? Like, I could really do things on my own. And I'm not opposed to, like, if somebody wants to hire me in the future, right? Like, sure, I'll consider being employed. But just having this time to myself and having this quiet time to say, I have the network. FYLPRO is a huge freaking network. I have the
Yeah.
connections. I have the know-how. Now what can I do with these connections? Because we were put together for a purpose. So I'm really learning, what can I do with the folks who are here with it in my periphery. So that's, but it's scary as hell. Like, right? Like, oh my God, I gotta pay for my own insurance. Oh my God, I gotta do this. But I have a great community, FYLPRO being one of them. And a lot of, people I've met in the nonprofit space here in the community here in San Francisco, and they're actually like lending their hand saying, Joe, I know this is your new venture. What can I do to support you? What advice do you need? So I want to say, like, entrepreneurship and community for me are just like two really important things in my lens right now. And yeah, I think that's the reason why, like, FYLPRO is just so invaluable. Like, it's just a gift that keeps on giving.
I'm so glad that you say that, you're finding that support and you're finding that mentorship and that guidance, because so
Mhm.
often a lot of us don't feel connected, especially like you said, everything you said, I totally agree with. I also left my job. I'm, trying a different path, trying new things, and
Mhm.
it's just it
Mhm.
made us all realize that that life is short and you should be doing what you love, not, kind of making
Yes.
yourself fit into this box that you
Right.
originally thought was where you wanted to be, right? So,
Right. Right.
so I'm so
And
glad
I
that
mean,
your
like,
mentorship is.
I never thought that I would ever be an entrepreneur, first of all. Like, I never thought that I could set my own schedule. But um, just listening to what other FYLPRO folks have done, I mean, I mentioned Jet before, but Jet, he was my batchmate. He was one of my biggest inspirations. And just knowing that he went through so much, I hope he gets on this Filipino FYLPRO Fridays, but he's gone through
Yes,
so
we
much, and I'm
we
just
will get
inspired.
everyone.
Okay, cool. I'm just very inspired by all the entrepreneurs and all the folks making a difference in our alumni, in our network too.
So, if there was something like an ask that you think we as a group should be doing more of, what do you think that would be? What can we do to really support and leverage the strength of our community?
I think Lizelle really hit it on the nail yesterday. She really wanted to leverage our connections to make things happen, especially when it comes to representation in government, representation in the media, and in entertainment. So I I don't know what the product is of that, but I'm thinking maybe, like, I think she mentioned yesterday, like a speakers bureau, getting a database of all the folks who have influence, who have money to give, who have positions where they could, lift our community up. I think another ask would be, like, is there a consolidated effort where all of us could, and Tayo actually is a huge product where, like, you know, folks from the alumni come together, but I shouldn't say but, and how can we do that in other sectors of our community,
Mhm.
in journalism or
Mhm.
in entertainment? So I think an ask is just like, let's just get together and let's see what we could do together. I think the collaboration aspect is very important at this time, and I've seen it through in the pandemic. You know, when folks were underemployed and they needed help, you know, leaders from our community stepped up. FYLPRO being one, Filipinos Feed the Frontlines being another, and we made magic happen. I don't want that to stop just because we're not in a pandemic anymore. We need to keep it going so that when we say, okay, you know, Filipino leaders, they'll know exactly who the hell we are, and they'll know exactly where we
Mhm.
come from, and they'll know exactly who to go to if there was like something that needed to be remedied, or they needed a speaker, or they needed a company or agency to help them with something. They won't go to the usual people. They'll come to our community. So I think those are the two things that I would ask for.
Yeah, I totally agree, totally echo it. I'm looking at our chat and I saw that Shar McGinnis is in the house. Hey, Shar, joining us from
Hello,
Seoul.
hello.
Great. Have you met Shar, Joe? I don't know if you have.
I was so sad. I was not able to meet Shar. I think Shar was going to be in the Washington D.C. trip right before COVID, and I was so
Mhm.
excited to meet her and the rest of her batch. But no, but aloha, Shar. Thank you for your service. You're badass.
She is. She's a rock star, I have to say. And actually, Shar first, actually, this idea for this chismisan originally came to me from Shar because she uh, engaged me, or she reached out to me about doing something like this talk story for the census. You know, there was a big
Oh,
push,
wow.
obviously, for us to be
Yeah.
counted here in Hawaii. And you may know Senator Benet Misalucha. So she also was the Filipino Census Committee chair. And so she worked with her and Shar, and they just asked me to come and do these talk stories with all kinds of people from different fields and backgrounds. And I said, you know what? This is a great idea for FYLPRO. We should
I
showcase
love it.
the strength of our alumni. So shout out to Shar for that original show
Yay,
pitch
Shar.
there, and we're doing it. We're doing it, right? I mean, we're gonna fine tune it as we go along, and the end goal is to also kind of get these highlighted in, like with our partners like GMA, and just kind of again showcase the strength of the community, and so that people watching can say, "Hey, I need someone who's an expert in business consulting, tech event consulting. Who is that girl on that show? Oh, it's
Right.
Joe." So
Right.
things like that. So
Exactly.
we can be resources. So, and I know you also talked about Kumu, and that
Hmm.
is interesting, right? Because that has become a huge platform in the Philippines. Co-founded, I think,
Oh
right,
yeah.
by some FYLPRO friends. So tell us
Hmm.
about what you're hoping to do on that front with Kumu.
You know, I've always loved media and social entertainment. You know, like, I love when folks are able to share their talents. You know, like, Filipinos are some of the most talented people in the world, in the universe, right? So, Kumu is an app. It's a social entertainment app that was founded back in 2018, and it has blown up during the pandemic because, you know, we have this inherent urge to connect with everybody, and the pandemic brought people apart, but through technology, people were able to connect through this app. And so right now I'm one of the community managers, with a emphasis on expansion and partnerships here in the United States. So shout out to the founders. I work really closely with James Roomer, who is actually a San Francisco Bay Area San Jose native. So me and him have this connection of, being from the Bay, and we're part of the generation where, we're kind of that bridge generation. We're born in the United States. Our parents were born in the Philippines. We're probably going to have children. He has a child already here in the United States. So how do we bridge the Filipino American and Filipino community? So through this app, we're able to showcase talent, promote products both here in the United States and in the Philippines, as well as pay our talents to be part of the app. So it started off as a messaging app, but then it turned into a live stream app, like Twitch and, all these other live stream apps, like just basically like took over the internet back during the pandemic. But we're taking it a step further now. What can we do? How can we take what we cultivated and grew on the app, and how can we bring it into the real world, knowing that the world is constantly changing? I mean, even 2 days ago, the mask mandate was lifted here in California, right? So everybody is hoping for this pandemic phase to end and the endemic phase to start. And I think the governor here, he did mention that California is probably going to open up more. So looking at that, what can we do as a community now, learning from what we learned from the pandemic? So I'm just making partnerships. I'm trying to meet people. I'm trying to say, how can Kumu help you with your product, with your community, going to different cities in the country and saying, we have this amazing app that I think would be a really great platform for you to tell your story. And, going back to what Shar said, talking story is so important, right? Talking story and transferring that knowledge and those lessons is something we should continue, no matter in what era we're in. And sure, pandemic is probably one of the most traumatic eras of our generation, but what can we learn from this? What connections did we learn or earn from this time, and what better can we do for our community based on that? So again, for me, it's the experience of connection, telling your story, and making something of that lesson. And something that my Kuya Romeo said the other day, he said something like, oh man, I don't want to quote him because I'm probably butchering his words, but he said a mistake or something was a lesson. What you learned and what you do with that is the blessing, right? It's what experiences did you have to make a blessing out of it. So it was a really ishy time. I can't cuss on this, but it was a really bad time for a lot of us. We lost a lot of our, we lost friends, we lost family members, and I think a lot of our perceptions pivoted, our mindsets pivoted, and the community is more important more important now than ever. And I feel that how can we take this technology and put our stories on there? And I have to say that some of the producers at Kumu are amazing. Shout out to One Down Media, Leo and Tessa Albea, who are creating events and productions in LA, and we're hoping to do that everywhere in the country. So again, connection, using our networks, finding people who have stories to tell, and really parsing through all these stories and finding Philippine excellence is something I think is like, the Filipino excellence land is so fertile right now. It's so fertile. Like, what can we pick from this, right? Like we're like majority
we have to
of
harvest.
we have to harvest, and a lot of us are settlers of the lands we're in right now. I'm in Ramay Tushaloni territory, right? I'm a settler here. My mom, she came here with my grandparents back in the 80s, and I feel that a lot of us started new lives here, even Shar in Asia, right? Like we're making new lives in different lands, but at the same time, how are we honoring ourselves here, and what can we do to better our community here and better the communities of our ancestors? That got really passionate really quick, but that
I know.
that's the
You
reason
go, girl. You speak.
that was the reason why I went into events. It's because I wanted to create experiences that people could learn from. And it wasn't just like, oh, like I went to an event and I got absolutely nothing from it. No, I want the
Mm.
experiences that I produce to be memorable, to be educational even. So I love that, what I do is attracting a lot of folks who are really doing great things. Like like you're amazing, Annalisa, and like all the folks in FYLPRO. And it's I'm in a really good place, I have to say, because the community that we've had and we've grown, they're wondering how to fertilize this land now, right? They're wondering how to
Yeah.
grow, how to plant the seeds for the future generations. And I think that's what we're all trying to do. And I think it goes back to what legacy is, and what FYLPRO wanted to
Mm.
do is what can we do together so that the legacies of not only ourselves and people of our generation, but, the shoulders that we stand on. What are we doing to make them proud? What are we doing to make them say, yeah, it was a good idea for me to do this, or a good idea for me to immigrate, or whatever. Um, and I think FYLPRO really made me see that. I remember when I did my application for FYLPRO, I actually quoted Alexander Hamilton because I loved Hamilton, and it said, "Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting a garden you don't. What do you say? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see, right?" And
Yeah.
I think a lot of
But
our
others reap the
alumni,
benefit.
exactly, they reap the benefits, and they have the option to take the seeds from the fruits and continue that legacy. And I think that's a very beautiful
Hmm.
thing about FYLPRO, a beautiful thing about our Filipino American community. And like
Hmm.
I think, even going back to your first question of like, what do you see? I just see our community growing. I just see us collaborating. I see us making our beautiful brown faces seen in the media, and seeing ourselves in literature. And I was talking to Mona Lisa Yuchenko yesterday, who was she's the founder of Filipinas Magazine, Positively Filipino, and
Philanthropist.
I yeah, and I said, you know what, Mona Lisa, I dropped out of college back in 20 20 2006. I dropped out of college because life happened, and I wanted to be an English major. I wanted to be a creative writing minor, major, whatever it was back then. And I want to keep writing, and I want to do this and that, but I feel like my ship has sailed. Um, but I never stopped writing. And she said, you know what? I founded the magazine in my 30s. It's never too late for you to start what you want to do and what you're passionate about. And so just that meeting that FYLPRO had hosted, it flipped my lens around, like, okay, like, yeah, keep writing because Mona Lisa said so, right? And it's those very special moments that I appreciate, that I am grateful for, because FYLPRO brought it to me. And that's the reason why I'm just so happy to be part of this community. Dang, Annalisa, that got me all passionate, but it's
It's like this is like
it
Oprah,
really
you're gonna start crying. You're gonna start crying.
I mean, our batch did a lot of crying when we were back in Manila. And I think that's the reason why FYLPRO is so important to me still, because it really let me see the sacrifices that were made for me, and the sacrifices that are going to be made for future generations. And it made me appreciate where my family came from. And like the entrepreneurship in all our careers and whoop-de-whoop helped us get into the program. But it was a full circle moment for me, because I benefited from my family's sacrifices, and I was given the privilege of having an education, and to go back to the Philippines, where you know privilege is not a thing there for majority of the population. it just put things into perspective, I think. And I think the immersion program, and lots of folks, lots of alumni said this, life changing. It was literally life changing for a lot of us. And one of my batchmates, shout out to Mark Calaguas, he's from Chicago. You know, he joined one of my Filipino Food Fridays dinners that we had back in the day, and I'm not part of it anymore. I actually passed the baton off to somebody else, but just getting to know him after the program, I just see the beauty in all of our alumni, not only as, you know, high performing, you know, high performing, very accomplished folks, but getting to see their humanity after the program. And, you know, even during the program, like a lot of us really got vulnerable during that trip. And it made me see that our community is so multifaceted, and our community and our diaspora is just so beautiful. And I think it needs to be celebrated. I'm just going to stop talking now because that's going to be another Oprah moment.
No, I laugh because I'm just laughing because so I originally slotted these things for like half an hour, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I, I don't know. Some people are like, should we do just one person per half hour or like multiple people? I'm like, we can fit a lot of stuff in half an hour. So that's why I said,
Yeah.
for me, these types of things, and eventually we want to get to a place where we definitely want this to be people coming in and also sharing and talking. So because this is again an opportunity to reconnect with people that life gets in the way. You may not have the time to remember, or it's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
reminder that, hey, this part of your life really made an impact. Let's touch that part of it again and
Yeah.
bring it into your daily grind, right? Because it's so easy to get back to
Yeah.
the daily slug of things and forget what inspired you in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and
Right.
I'm so glad that you shared all of this, because I think that there's a lot of people that are going through the same awakening or realization, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, on that note, I definitely, I don't want to like take too much of your time, because this really was meant just to give you a chance to reconnect. And also, just again, where are you now? And that's exactly what you did. How can people reach you? So if we want to build on this network, how would you suggest people reach out to you on your social medias? Like, this is your chance to plug or tell people to reach
Yeah,
out.
for sure. So I'm mainly on Instagram. I don't go on Facebook too often anymore, but I'm on Instagram and on LinkedIn. You could find me on LinkedIn at Joanne Boston. So my real name is Joanne, Joanne. Boston is really my last name. Boston is my real. I was born with that last name. But you could find me on you can find me on Instagram at JB Collaborations with a K, trying to get the K back into the vocabulary. So JB for Joanne Boston Collaborations on Insta. So you can find me there. I'm usually posting food, usually posting events that I'm helping produce. Actually want to do another plug for another book I'm part of,
Sure.
In Her purpose. So In Her purpose,
And what's that
shout
one
out to
about?
yeah, so this one is actually in another anthology, 40 Asian women. So all types of Asian, East Asian, Southeast Asian, Filipino, of course, East Asian. And we talk about redefining success on our own terms. And, even looking back at my story back then, I'm like, oh my God, like more things are just layered on top of this story now. And I've seen how much I've grown. So yeah, the two books I'm part of, Inner Purpose and the New Filipino Kitchen, um, definitely tapping into two things I love, which are, women empowerment and food. So that's me.
I love it, Joe. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for this is like my lunch hour. So like I get to like have post lunch with everyone starting this Friday. So every Friday, guys, we are going to highlight a different alumni or supporter, because some of our members are not actually alum. We've opened it up to what do they call it? FYLPRO adjacent, meaning that we are supporters like myself that believe in the mission and want to, really
Mm.
raise the awareness and promote our stories. So, but we're definitely starting with alumni because it's our 10th year anniversary of FYLPRO. And yeah, it's great. And contact Jo. She's there. She's a resource, as well as myself. And I look forward to seeing everyone on the next FYLPRO Friday. FYLPRO
All
Fridays.
right.
It's afternoon for you. Thanks, Joanne.
Yeah,
See
see.
you.
Bye, Annalisa. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Aloha. Now I
Bye.
have to figure out how to hang this up.